Hello and welcome back to the Gentleman Psychic. Make certain to hit the like and subscribe button and ring that notification bell to be among the first to receive updates on videos like this and many others. Today, we have a very special episode because I am calling through the mists of space and time, and I am here with my very dear old friend, Spooky Brucey. Hello, Spooky.
Good evening, darling.
Good evening.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fabulous. How fantastic you look.
Oh, thank you, dear. I feel positively wretched.
Well, you've been undead for how long, my love?
60 years, give or take. You know, but who's keeping, right?
I know. So we are in the month of Thanksgiving. I know, that dreadful holiday about Puritans and Christianity and some...
Coming together and being thankful. Everything I stand against.
I know. What are these kids up to these days? Can you imagine?
It boggles the mind. I'm baffled by young people today.
What are you drinking, Spooky?
Oh, wouldn't you like to know? It's in Balmer's brand formaldehyde.
Oh, lovely. Is it a virgin?
Looking nice, at least. Dr. Seltsam highly recommends it. Does all my touch-up work. That's why it's what took so long.
Well, it was well worth the wait, my darling. Well worth the wait. Speaking of... Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, dear. Proceed.
Oh, well, we could spend all day talking about how fabulous you are.
Oh, can't we?
Now, I was fortunate enough to be in your abode on Halloween.
Oh, yes. Yes, our Halloween special. To launch our comeback, so to speak. We took a long hiatus, but it's nice to be back.
You're still a big star. It's the pictures that got stars.
Well said. To paraphrase Norma Desmond, what was it? It's not a comeback, it's a return to the fans that have never forgiven me.
Yes. Well, are you ready for your close-up, Mr. DeMille?
I'd come closer to the camera, but I can't move that far. Nothing will start coming out, I'll burst the seams.
So tell me a little bit, Spooky Brucey. Now you were on hiatus for a little while, and you are now returning back to your fans, and you have many. Tell me, how are things in the afterworld, my darling?
Well, they're on the up and up, basically. Things have changed quite a bit. It's more difficult in the living world than in the dead world. The dead world, everything's fairly copacetic. However, the mortals, I hear, are having a rough go of it these days. So I figured I'd come back, give them something to look forward to.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, really, the world is so void of beautiful, entertaining people. I'm so glad that we dug you up.
As if they're not dealing with enough misery out there today. I'm so glad to come back and hand them another spoonful,
Now, my darling, you may remember, I have some friends here. You may know my friends. I'll introduce them one at a time. I'll introduce my friend, the devil.
Oh, hello, Satan. Beelzebub.
Yeah, in the flesh, or well, sort of. And you remember Asmodeus. Asmodeus here, you remember him?
Yeah, striking resemblance there.
I know. Well, it's a family trait.
Yes.
And then I have Little Scratch. He's not so old Scratch, but he's Little Scratch.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah, he's
the runt of the litter.
He is. He's a new addition to the family. I adopt them. But you have friends that you have oftentimes come over. You have one in particular that likes to hide, if memory serves.
Bugsy or the Beast?
Yes.
Oh, Bugsy's around here somewhere. Bugsy, dear, would you be kind enough to say hello? Piss off. Oh, Bugsy. He's language. He's from Bob.
It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. But that's okay. He's lovely and he's beautiful, and I send him my regards anyway.
No, Bugsy, yes. After the obscene gesture, he waves hello.
Of course, it's only polite. It's only polite.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Spooky, my darling, you are quite the artiste.
Yes. So.
I'm absolutely in love with your work.
Why, thank you. Yes, I've done quite a few pieces. I have a Chernabog and an Abaddon. I like to reference, mythology. Mythology is usually my go-to. Said mythology. Depends on your conception of whether or not they exist or not. You know.
Fabulous. But you know who does exist? I haven't heard from
Pray tell.
Who?
I said, pray tell, who, dear? Who
My
is
friend
it?
Jack. I haven't heard from Jack in a long time.
The Ripper.
Oh, well, you know, I know him. Oh, he comes by frequently. He's a real cut-up, that one.
Aha! I see what you did there.
Yes, no, I mean our other friend, our other Victorian Jack.
Spring-heeled Jack you're referring to, I believe.
That's the one. Now, if memory serves, Spooky, that you and he were a little bit, you were at each other's throats, so to speak. Do you still have that grudge?
That lecherous old brute. He could do with a good shave.
Yes, I should say so. Well, what would you like to tell our viewers about Spring-heeled Jack? Any juicy tidbits for those who are gossipily inclined?
Oh dear. Well, Spring-heeled Jack is quite the scamp. The last I heard, he's racking up quite the bill down at Mary's Pub. Mary's Pub is a cover for a strip club, you know. However, let's see. Spring-heeled Jack. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the story goes that he'd like to vomit up blue flames, correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And the silver claws.
He's a little gassy, that one.
Yes, yes. Why don't we explain to the audience Spring-heeled Jack, shall we?
Sure, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, our old friend, or fiend rather, our old fiend Spring-heeled Jack. It is early Victorian England and penny dreadfuls. No, not that penny dreadful, but actual books, because they were magazines, they were newspapers that people would read, and it was only a penny, and people couldn't afford real education and real books, and they were expensive, so you would have these penny dreadfuls, and they were, to put it bluntly, dreadful. So our dear friend Spring-heeled Jack made quite a stir in London in the early Victorian times. He would appear out of nowhere and he would belch blue flames, and he had silver claws to which he would rip women's clothing open, and he would lurk around corners. Oh yes, quite a ladies' man.
A bold fellow. Never took no for an answer. Oh,
very, very
a little gropey, that one. Awful. The stories that I was brushing up for our little conversation this evening, and I came across a story I'd never heard of, that he assaulted a lady, and not only assaulted her, but picked her up, threw over a bridge into some sort of sewer drain, and she drowned. There's nothing to back that story up. However, I adore that story, that some fellow can just hop out of the darkness, grab you, and off into the sewer. You know,
off into the sewer.
Right.
She ought to get her mind out of the gutter.
That she should. She needs to clean up her act.
Well, I think she should get her mind out of the gutter, but unfortunately, the morgue did it for her.
Hosed her out, you know.
Well, you know, there was a fellow who claimed to be Spring-heeled Jack. He was in this drunken, you know.
I've heard that story. That takes all the mystery out of it, though, I think.
Well, he claimed to be Spring-heeled Jack until there were ramifications, and he went, "Nope, that's not me. That's not me." And they went, "Well, he breathes blue fire. Can you do that? And he goes, nope, I can't do that. I was only lying. I can't. I was only lying.
I love that, you know, oh yeah, that was definitely me. That was me. Oh really? Okay, well, you're wanted for several sexual assaults and possibly murder. Oh no. That wasn't me, actually. That's hysterical. The backpedaling. You know,
right.
You want the fame, you got to suffer for it. Trust me, I know. But good grief, that's just fantastic. But I think it takes all the to put it crudely, it takes all the piss out of the story when, you know, was it a person or was it a Victorian Batman? I've heard that theory several times, that it was some sort of caped crusader out there, you know, fighting the good fight against, you know, the sordid types that was wandering around the London fog. And it's
no,
thank you.
No, I like the story. They do. I like the way they describe the way that he's dressed. He's always wearing this oilcloth, which prevents him from getting wet, and he has this sort of military braided waistcoat, and he wears these white trousers with these big high boots, and he's able to leap over buildings.
Oh, yes, his first. I think his first appearance was. What's the cemetery there? I forget the name.
Highgate
Cemetery. That was the first leap anyone saw him make, was over the gates of Highgate Cemetery. I just think that's such a great visual. This thing plowing through the fog towards whoever this fellow was that allegedly saw him.
Allegedly.
Borrowing from Kathy Griffin. Allegedly. Yes. But I love the visual of Spring Hill, and I like the. They often said he carried a bullseye lantern. I like the idea of this, you know, Renfieldish sort of fellow scurrying about the dark, leaping from corner to corner, carrying this bullseye lantern and this greasy cape. You know, handsome fellow.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you know, I think he was a handsome fellow, not saying that, you know, about, you know, I wouldn't say that I know him personally, but I do, you know, I wouldn't say that.
You know, we all know Spring Hill Jack. All right?
We've all heard of his exploits. We've all heard. So, Spooky, changing gears a little bit, what exciting things are you working on next?
I am working on a 6-episode new season of Tales of Midnight. We're mixing up the formula a bit. Previously, we stuck more so towards, like I said, urban legends, true crime. We're going to keep that format. However, we'll be mixing it up with going on locations and bringing in special guests, a lot like what we did with the Halloween special. That's sort of our template for what we will be doing. I have an episode right now. We'll be releasing the special guest, the Doodler. A never apprehended serial killer from California, San Francisco more specifically, that would doodle his male victims. That sounds more obscene than what it is. He would sketch, allow me to clarify, sketch his victims.
That sounds rather sketchy.
He was a sketchy individual, yes. But long before the days of Grindr and Scruff, there was serial killers prowling around the gay scene.
Oh, that's true. Prowling around the gay scene, you said? Is that what you said?
Gay scene. Not gay scene. No, let's not talk about Pogo. We don't need him. Oh, revolting.
I know.
No, that's something, slippery slope we have with the Tales of Midnight format, is that we often bring in my old friends, serial killer friends, but we have to be careful which ones we invite, as to make it clear who we condone and who we don't condone.
It's very true. It's very true. Even here on The Gentleman Psychic, I have had my fair share of interactions with the deceased. I actually once really honestly encountered, what's his name? Now it draws a blank. Richard.
Oh, Richard. I love Richard.
Yeah,
nasty character. I don't think I would like to spend too much time with. Fascinating, but nasty.
No, I I encountered him. It's actually one of my videos. I talk about it, but I was driving along. Fortunately, I was not in the open top car. I was in the other car. It was on the anniversary of his last kill, and he was coming over Cahuenga Pass, and I looked, and there was Richard Ramirez, and he had black eyes, and he was covered in blood, had no legs, because that's oftentimes the way that spirits will manifest, and he's walking along, and I went, that is Richard Ramirez. I am so glad I'm not in my other car. And
I feel like he's that type. He's the rock on, you know, that sleazeball goth, like
he's
type, you know.
Yeah, not my favorite. Not my favorite. But who is your favorite? Do you have a favorite serial killer? Do you have a favorite? Eileen. Oh, yeah.
He's been on my show. You see, like I said, we have to be very careful as to who Spooky Brucey associates himself with. So,
well, you don't want to associate with the riffraff.
No, not at all. So Eileen has an ounce of sympathy to her, so it's okay for, I feel, Spooky Brucey and Tales of Midnight to condone Eileen and have her on the program. However, the others not so much. You know,
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Spooky seems to condone some activities when he talks about nightmare things. So we need to make sure, like I said, strict standards as to what's condoned and what's not. Eileen killing Johns as a truck stop hooker, sure. But Casey killing innocent young men, no. Get out of here with that. No one wants that.
It's not midnight yet, but my clock is striking. And speaking of striking, you are striking. Look at you. Look at you.
That's a good contrast.
Well, I have seen you, and you look the way that you do all the time. You are absolutely ageless.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
It's quite the process to get into spooky.
So tell me, Spooky Brucey, how can people find you?
You can find me at youtube.com/Spooky Brucey Tales of Midnight. Very long title, I'm aware. So I will repeat that. Spooky Brucey. I'm even getting lost. youtube.com/Spooky Brucey Tales of Midnight. There we go.
You are so fabulous. You are so, I don't remember how we met all those hundreds of years ago, but it was well worth it.
I agree. It's always good to keep good company.
It's so hard to come by these days.
That it is. Everyone's gotten so basic.
And beige.
Effort into anything.
And speaking of basic and beige, and you're certainly not, look at your beautiful decor. Are you the artist behind your decor?
I created this fireplace behind me. If anyone asks, it's been here forever. This house came this way. But I built the fireplace, the ventriloquist dummy you see often in the show I made. I designed the set. I've made countless pieces in here. There's a taxidermied demon in the corner. But yes, I have hand created floor to ceiling this room, as much so just like you have yours. Every time I see yours, I have to admit I'm filled with just a touch of envy. The wallpaper, all of it is just on point.
Thank you so much. Well, you know, it's Gothic Victorian, and I will tell you, this is one of my favorite stories. So I met this young individual. Now, I'm not a serial killer, though I am rumored to have.
I like that you lead with that. I met this young individual. I'm not a serial killer. I'm not.
I'm rumored to be an immortal vampire, and there may be some merit.
Oh, a speculative vampire.
Exactly. However, I met this individual on, online, and we talked back and forth for months on months and months. And then he says, okay, I really want to meet you. And I said, it's late. I'm a lot during the day. It is late. He says, I want to come over. I have wine. And I said, okay, come over. So he comes over, he brings his wine, he sits down on my sofa, and he goes, sensing that he was kind of uncomfortable, I said, yes, it's old. He says, with a big gulp, your house is kind of weird. I said, well, it is old.
Well, I'm sorry, it's not Pier 1 Imports.
Right?
I
said, this is Gothic Victorian. This is what it is. And he goes, I have to get out of here. I have to get out. I have to leave. And I went, yep, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And then he took his wine with him.
I have no patience. None. Like anyone that I'm assuming this gentleman was dropping by to visit. When I have gentlemen dropping by to visit, if there's any reference to, oh gosh, this house is creepy or what, it's get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. I don't have time. I don't have time for weakness. And right now you seem weak. So hit the bricks. I don't know. I don't do that well. I don't suffer fools lightly.
Now, changing the subject ever so slightly, my darling. Now, you are absolutely Spooky Brucey, and you're fabulous.
Thank you.
You have some inspirations that help to cultivate and help you to shift your worldview. Can you name me perhaps some other famous people who inspire you?
Oh, certainly. Let's see. Number one, first and foremost, is always Vampira. Vampira, Mila Nurmi is my number one inspiration with how I write Spooky Brucey, how he presents himself. Right now, I'm much more candid than I usually am in the program. It's a scripted program. Oh, Bugsy's knocking things over.
Bugsy.
Bugsy, darn you.
Bugsy.
Scamp. But it's a scripted program, so right now I'm being candid.
I think you're fabulous.
When I write these episodes, I like to keep in mind how Mila presented herself. She was very dry and matter of fact. And as I said a moment ago, wasn't one to suffer fools lightly. Just too fabulous for words. I don't have time for this kind of an attitude. And that's how he conducts himself, you know. I may have forever, dear, but that doesn't mean I'm going to waste it on you kind of an attitude. You know, that kind of...
Bravo.
Yeah. So Vampira. Let's see, who else is in my arsenal? Betty Davis. I write a lot of my lines with Betty Davis in mind, especially Betty Davis, All About Eve, and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Love that one.
Yes. There's so many good lines from that film. And Mae West. So that would be my unholy trinity for inspiration. Mae West, Vampira, and Betty Davis. I love Mae West in the sense that she wasn't a standard beauty by any stretch to the imagination. However, she believed it enough, and she sold it enough that all of America ate it up. And that's fantastic. And there's a few little winks in our Halloween special to Mae West. I wrote a line for Dr. Seltsam. What was it? It's not about the men in your life, it's the life in your men, my boy. You know, those dingers in there. Oh, and there was a Betty Davis reference when I encountered Professor Phantasma in the cemetery. I distinctly remember crossing you off my guest list. What are you doing here? Famous words, Betty Davis to Addison DeWitt, played by, I always face his name, fabulous actor, the one who always sounds like this. Shere Khan. Google his name at home, kids. He's a great actor. I just can't. Old brain.
I noticed a little, if I may, too. Now, I this may be just completely out of my own head, but there was a little bit of Transylvanian transvestites, a little that sort of.
Yes, there was quite a few little winks to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, especially my first line, actually. We don't often receive visitors, let alone offer them hospitality.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I love that film. Frank, I love horror. If I may take you on a strange journey here. I as a gay man who has grown up in the Midwest, I know it's oftentimes considered problematic for the gay community to feel that most of their film representation has been villains. However, I love that we have this just gallery of wonderful movie villains that are flamingly homosexual. I mean, just completely over the top homosexual. But they're just staring at the scenery, and they're awful, and that. If you enjoy that sort of character, make sure you tune into Tales of Midnight.
Yes, do tune into Tales of Midnight. I'm going to tell a little story about my sort of growing up also in the Midwest.
Yes, please.
Being somewhat of being in love with the villain. So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a cartoon villain. I remember I loved the way that they moved, the way that they spoke. They were always so delicious. They always lived in beautiful places and drove the most fantastic automobiles, and they were just delicious.
But we're supposed to hate them, right?
Right? Well, I told my mother, I said, I was maybe 10. I said, I really like the villains. I think that I really like them. And my mother, who is evangelical Pentecostal, she says, oh, maybe down in your heart you might actually be a villain.
That's fantastic. You know,
isn't it? And then I realized I am a cartoon villain, and I love it.
Yes, embrace it. Have fun with it. Be as awful as you want to be in life. Just don't get caught. Words to live by, kids. Oh yeah, I remember. I just spoke about this in an interview I did. It sounds so bitchy that I just spoke about this in an interview I did the other day. No, I did a podcast.
You're a star, darling.
Far from it. But I spoke about this in a podcast the other day. Somehow Batman villains came up, and that's another huge influence for what I do. The 60s Batman villain. I remember watching that and the cartoon series growing up and thinking, when does the bad guy get to win? So, I just remember always being completely confused as why does Batman always get this? Why does he always win? As a child, I didn't grasp it. As an adult, I do, and I don't like it. So I'm flipping the script. The bad guys get to win this time.
I think it's
I've made a whole program for the bad guys to win. We deserve our chance.
I emphatically say, hell yes. Oh, goodness. Well, we are coming upon time. One more time, Spooky, youtube.com.
I got you. YouTube.com/Spooky Brucey Tales of Midnight. That's SPOOKYBRUCEYTALESOFMIDNIGHT. I did it.
Bravo. Thank you so much for watching. You at home, make certain to hit the like and subscribe button, and follow my good friend Spooky Brucey at Tales of Midnight.
Yes, Tales of Midnight.
Tales
Shall
of
I spell it again?
Nope, that's it. Tales of Midnight. Everybody, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Until next time, I'm your host, Richard-Lael Lillard, the Gentleman Psychic.
Farewell.